Video is good. Presentation also is came. Hmm. రవి
సార్
ఈ యూపీ వాళ్ళకి పంపించారా?
నేను అన్నిటికీ రెగ్యులర్ ఎప్పటిలాగే పెడతాను సార్. రెగ్యులర్ గా ఈరోజు మార్నింగ్ పెట్టి ఇందాక పెట్టాను.
వీళ్ళు అరుణ్ కోటే పర్సనల్ గా పంపలేదా?
ఆయన మన గ్రూప్ లో ఉన్నాడు ప్రస్తుతం. ఈ రోజు ఆయన మధ్యాహ్నం మాట్లాడి నాతోటి వేరే ఇష్యూ చెప్పకూడదు చెప్పింది. ఓకే ఓకే
ఓకే. यू कैन स्टार्ट इन 2 मिनट्स. सुखदेव जी जो राजकुमार जी की बोल दीजिए ना, नहीं तो आप कर लीजिए.
हाँ, नो प्रॉब्लम कर लेंगे.
अभी कोटे सारा
यस यस, 2 मिनट में स्टार्ट कर लीजिए.
Good evening to all.
गुड इवनिंग सर. गुड इवनिंग. वेलकम सर.
गुड
Thank you. Thank you.
सुखदेव जी स्टार्ट कर लीजिए. सुखदेव जी
हाँ हाँ जी सर, कंटिन्यू.
स्टार्ट कर लो सर. स्टार्ट कर लो.
सभी साथियों को जय भीम, गुड इवनिंग. हमारे 47 लेक्चर में आपका स्वागत है, जो संविधान के 75 वर्ष के अवसर पर जो एक सीरीज शुरू किया है कि संविधान में सामाजिक न्याय की क्या स्थिति है, उस पे जो हमारा एक संविधान समालोचन का सीरीज शुरू हुआ है. तो आज 47 का सीरीज है. हमारे बीच में आज एडवोकेट श्रीनिवास माधव जी हैं. ये लॉन्ग स्टैंडिंग एडवोकेट हैं, जो ट्रांसपेरेंसी, सिटीजन एम्पावरमेंट पे काम करते हैं, गवर्नेंस के मुद्दे पे. और ये इन्होंने जो अपना लॉ किया है वो आ, ककाटिया यूनिवर्सिटी से किया है. और पिछले 2 दशक से राइट टू इंफॉर्मेशन के मुद्दे पर काम कर रहे हैं. आज ये हमारा मार्गदर्शन करेंगे इस सीरीज में. आ, ये जुडिशियल ऑफिसर भी रहे हुए हैं आंध्र प्रदेश इंफॉर्मेशन कमीशन में, और कंसल्टेंट रहे हैं सेंटर फॉर गुड गवर्नेंस हैदराबाद में. इनका पब्लिक ऑफिशियल को ट्रेन करने में, उनको एम्पावर करने में आरटीआई एक्ट पे बहुत बड़ा योगदान रहा है। और ये न्यूली अपॉइंटेड स्टेट इंफॉर्मेशन कमिश्नर ऑफ तेलंगाना एंड आंध्र प्रदेश में रहे हैं। ही इज आल्सो लीड कंटेंट ऑथर फॉर द ऑनलाइन सर्टिफिकेट कोर्स ऑन आरटीआई 12 for the Department of Personnel and Training and hosted on government e-learning platform। ये इनका योगदान बहुत रहा है स्टेट में। He has more than half a dozen books and handbooks on the subject such as the Voters' Right to Information, Democracy and Information Citizen and expedition under the एक्सपेंशन अंडर द आरटीआई एक्ट। प्राइमर इन्होंने एक डेवलप किया है आरटीआई पे, और डेमोक्रेसी एंड इंफॉर्मेशन सिटीजन एक्सपेंशन पे। इज एडवोकेसी कोर्स आरटीआई पे काफी पैरवी करी है। ही हैज कैंपेन फॉर जेंडर इक्विटी इन पुलिस रिक्रूटमेंट, डेवलप इंडियाज फर्स्ट बाई स्टैंडर्ड इंटरवेंशन ट्रेनिंग मॉड्यूल टू combat gender violence and contributed significantly to the public discourse. His writing reflect a deep engagement with transparency, media access, and participatory democracy. Notable among them are the roots of ours। स्टेटसमैन में इनका आर्टिकल छपते हैं, न्यूज़पेपर इन एवरी होम में इनके आर्टिकल छपते हैं। काठमांडू का ये पोस्ट है, न्यूज़पेपर इन एवरी होम। दिसंबर 24 में इनका पब्लिश हुआ था पेपर। ही रिसेंटली आर्टिकल इंडियन एक्सपेरिमेंट विद आरटीआई, इंडियाज एक्सपेरिमेंट विद आरटीआई स्टेटसमैन में इनका आर्टिकल छपा था। 20th century of the RTI Act and reflect on the achievement, challenges, and the way forward for transparency in India. His current focus is on strengthening grassroots democracy through the right to information and the functioning of Gram Sabha, ensuring that transparency and public participation reach even the most remote community। तो इनका बहुत महत्वपूर्ण एक्सपीरियंस रहा है, बड़ा लंबा एक्सपीरियंस रहा है। और ये ग्राम सभा की फंक्शनिंग पे भी किस तरह से आरटीआई का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं ग्राम सभा को फंक्शनल बनाने में, उसको एम्पावर करने में, ये इनका महत्वपूर्ण योगदान रहा है। तो हम इनका स्वागत करते हैं। हमारे बीच में हिमाचल से आदरणीय श्री राजकुमार विद्यार्थी जी भी हैं, जो आरटीआई ब्यूरो चलाते हैं। तो मैं विद्यार्थी जी से गुजारिश करूंगा कि वो आगे इस सेशन को मॉडरेट करें। विद्यार्थी जी, आपका
हाँ
स्वागत
जी,
है। हाँ, स्वागत है। और
धन्यवाद जी। आवाज आवाज आ रही है जी मेरी?
हाँ, आ रही है, आ रही है सर, आ रही है सर।
ठीक है जी,
तो
थैंक यू।
आगे आप प्रक्रिया चलाएं, मॉडरेट करें आरटीआई।
थैंक यू जी, थैंक यू जी। टुडे आई वेलकम आवर ऑनरेबल स्पीकर श्री श्रीनिवास माधव सर and all members attending this lecture. Before I invite our speaker sir, I would like to share my little experience on RTI। मैं अपना छोटा सा एक्सपीरियंस आरटीआई का जो मेरा रहा है उसको मैं आपके साथ शेयर करूंगा। साथियों, आरटीआई एक बहुत अनोखा अनोखा कानून है, एक अनोखा अधिनियम है और ये जनहित में है। और इसके लिए आपका कोई काम अगर रुका हुआ है कहीं किसी भी दफ्तर में, तो आपको एक आरटीआई फॉर्म भर के देना होता है, आरटीआई की एप्लीकेशन देनी होती है। और उसके लिए हर स्टेट में अपने एक फॉर्मेट दिए हुए हैं जिसको आपको भरना है। और उसके साथ 10 रुपये या उस राज्य सरकार के द्वारा निर्धारित फीस आपने भरनी है। अगर आप बीपीएल में आते हैं, बिलो पॉवर्टी लाइन में आते हैं, तो आपको कोई फीस नहीं देनी होगी। और अगर मान लो आपने किसी बात की इंफॉर्मेशन लेनी है, किसी सब्जेक्ट की इंफॉर्मेशन लेनी है और आपको पता नहीं है कि आपने कहाँ अप्लाई करना है, तो आप डायरेक्ट इसको डिप्टी कमिश्नर या अपने कलेक्टर या अपने सब डिविजनल कलेक्टर को भी अप्लाई कर सकते हैं, जो सेक्शन 6(3) के तहत इसको कंसर्न अथॉरिटी को भेज देंगे। और इसके अलावा एक बड़ी देखने वाली बात और है खास, कि जब आप कहीं अप्लाई करते हैं आरटीआई में, जैसे कोई लोकल गवर्नमेंट है, लोकल सेल्फ गवर्नमेंट जिसमें पंचायतें आती हैं, आपकी नगर पालिका आती है, नगर निगम आते हैं, यानी म्यूनिसिपल कमेटी, म्यूनिसिपल कॉरपोरेशन, ये आते हैं। तो अगर आपका वहां पे थोड़ा साइकोलॉजिकल टेरर हो, अगर आप आरटीआई ब्यूरो चलाते हैं या आरटीआई एप्लीकेशन फाइल करते हैं टाइम टू टाइम पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट में, तो अगर आपका वहां थोड़ा साइकोलॉजिकल टेरर हो, तो आपके कई काम वैसे भी हो सकते हैं। क्योंकि कोई भी दफ्तर वाले, कोई भी ऑफिस वाले आरटीआई में उलझना नहीं चाहते। वो चाहते हैं कि देख लेते हैं कि सामने वाला आरटीआई जो कर रहा है ये थोड़ा दम रखता है या अच्छा नॉलेज रखता है, तो वो उसके काम कई बार खुद भी कर देते हैं। उसमें कोई ज्यादा, हमें ज्यादा उसमें जाने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती। इसलिए मैं समझता हूँ कि लोकल जो अथॉरिटी हैं, हमारी पंचायतें हैं या नगर परिषद है, तो इसमें थोड़ा सा अपना होल्ड बनाएं और अपना थोड़ा साइकोलॉजिकल टेरर बनाएं, जिससे कि आपको जो पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट का काम है वो आसानी से हो सके। और दूसरा ये कि मान लो आपने कहीं अप्लाई कर दिया किसी पीआईओ को, पब्लिक इंफॉर्मेशन ऑफिसर को, चाहे वो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का है चाहे वो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का है, अगर उन्होंने आपको इंफॉर्मेशन दे दी और आप उससे सेटिस्फाइड नहीं है, तो अब आप इसकी फर्स्ट अपील जो है वो 30 डेज के अंदर कर सकते हैं। और अगर फर्स्ट अपील करते हैं आप, उसमें भी आपको लगता है कि इंफॉर्मेशन गलत दी है, तो आप इसको ये सेकंड अपील जो है विद इन 90 डेज कर सकते हैं। तो
राजकुमार जी, आप लेक्चर का बाद में आपका इंट्रोड्यूस, आपका ओपिनियन बता दीजिए। लेक्चर तो आने
ठीक है
दो,
सर, ठीक है सर, ठीक
वो
है जी,
पूरा ही उनमें आ जाता है ना, बाद में आप रिस्पॉन्ड
ठीक है सर, ठीक है, ठीक है
करें।
सर। नाउ आई वुड लाइक टू इंट्रोड्यूस अबाउट श्री माधव सर। माधव सर इज
ऑलरेडी ऑलरेडी
लॉ।
सुखदेव जी बताए सर, ऑलरेडी सुखदेव जी
और हो
बताए।
गया
ओके
राजकुमार जी।
ओके,
राजकुमार
हाँ
जी
हो
आप
गया, हो
नहीं
गया,
है वो,
हो गया, हो गया, हो गया।
नाउ आई
आप
रिक्वेस्ट,
आप जरा वेलकम कर लीजिए बस।
हाँ हाँ, बस ठीक है।
now I welcome Shri Madhav sir and request to kindly provide his valuable guidance on the subject RTI. Please, Madhav sir, please start.
Thank you very much, Sukhdevji, for the introduction, and Rajkumar Vidyabhiji for introductory remarks. You made my job easy. So, namaskar, everyone. So, it's a great honor to be here amongst intellectuals like you. So, I once again thank you for this opportunity. I would like to thank Sri Valepalli Lakshmayaji also for giving me this wonderful opportunity to meet you all through this virtual medium. So today I will be taking you through 2 decade journey of India's experiments with right to information. So firstly, Indians should thank 2 great statesmen for this wonderful law, which empowers a common person. As Vijayaji rightly said, it empowers a common person to seek information from government or public authorities. So that power is equivalent to the power enjoyed by a member of parliament or an MLA while seeking information from government. So firstly, we should thank Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. So he actually, under his tenure, India saw its passage of first Freedom of Information Act in 2002. But anyway, Parliament passed the law in 2002 December, and they wanted to enforce this law after 1 or 2 years, but they couldn't do it, unfortunately. Meanwhile, there was a regime change. And then the next Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh ji, carried the light forward, and he said, so we will anyway enforce this law, but we want to strengthen law. So they made many amendments, and finally they decided to repeal the earlier act, and they wanted to enact a new law. So that's what we call now Right to Information Act 2005. So there are some minor differences between the both laws. Of course, first law, 2002 law, which was enacted by the then NDA government didn't have second appeals. So mostly we were supposed to file internal appeals whenever we were denied information. So that was the main issue. So that Manmohan Singh ji's new law so made some correction where they introduced information commissions as quasi-judicial authorities, where we can go and file a second appeal or complaints whenever we are denied information. So in a way, it's quite stronger than the earlier 2002 law. There is another provision which is somewhat unique, under which these quasi-judicial authorities, that means information commissioners, can impose a penalty up to 25,000 rupees from the public information offices. So this was somewhat draconian, but some innovative provision which was introduced in 2005. Before 2005, only Canada had this provision, but I never came across a single case where Canadian information commissioners imposed a penalty. So India, we can say, is the first country to have this provision and implement it too. So we see in many cases, many news reports where commissions routinely impose penalties on public information offices. In that manner, we can say our information commissioners are the strongest information commissioners on this world. We have around 30 countries which have these information commissioners, but very few information commissioners enjoy these powers. So then we will move on. So next thing is, so as I said, Indian RTI Act is considered to be one of the strong RTI laws. For example, there is a report, it's a comparative assessment prepared by Center for Law and Democracy and other organization called Access Info Europe, where they compare strengths of various RTI legislations. According to them, so far more than 130 countries have already enacted these laws. So India is ranked at 8th place. It is considered to be in one of the top 10 countries. So that is a major, I think, focus we can make, that the strength comes from its quasi-judicial authorities, that is strong information commissions and their powers to impose penalties on public information officers. And another interesting success of Indian RTI Act is this: we could actually influence our neighbors, most of our neighbors, on the success of RTI. They came here, they visited India, and they studied our experience during the last 20 years. And almost all our neighborhood countries now have these laws. For example, Nepal in 2007, and Bangladesh in 2009, and Sri Lanka in 2016, and Pakistan in 2017 enacted these laws. So only exception is Bhutan. Bhutan, unfortunately, so far couldn't enact this law. Surprisingly, Bhutanese constitution, Article 7 guarantees right to information. So their constitution itself guarantees right to information as a fundamental right, contrary to India. In contrast, Indian constitution doesn't explicitly guarantee right to information. You don't find any phrase like right to information when you go through the constitution. But Supreme Court, in many cases, in many landmark cases, held that Article 19(1)(a), which guarantees freedom of expression, also guarantees right to information. But that is a matter of interpretation. Bhutan has this explicit provision, but so far they couldn't enact. In fact, Nepalese RTI Act is quite stronger than Indian RTI itself. Nepalese RTI explicitly includes political parties into the ambit of right information. For example, even political party, a common person can file an application before a political party and can seek information. So Nepalese Act, according to my knowledge, is the only country in the world where it explicitly includes public authorities within the ambit of right information. Bangladesh also enacted a stronger legislation. For example, Bangladesh Parliament directly approves the funding to government, information commissions. Whereas India, we can see many state commissions beg before government departments for funding. Most of the state information commissions lack funding, infrastructure, human resources. So they go and beg before government departments for funding, and funds are less. So that doesn't guarantee your autonomy. If, for example, there is an application filed against the General Administration Department, which provides funding. Let us say there is a state finance which provides funding to Information Commission. How can you decide that case against finance department? Because at the end of the day, you have to go to the department and beg for funds. So that doesn't guarantee real autonomy. So Bangladesh has made it. We don't know how it is being practiced. Sri Lanka also enacted this law in 2016. It is quite strong. So Sri Lanka amended its constitution and made right information as its fundamental right. And now it's a constitutional right there, unlike India, where it's a matter of interpretation, where Supreme Court thinks that it's a constitutional right, assumes, but the government doesn't accept. Even our Indian government doesn't accept. So we'll discuss it later. And Pakistan 2017, Pakistan also enacted this law, and we will discuss if time permits about these legislations. And so let us come back to India. So how many applications are being filed by Indians in the last 20 years? There is a graph which shows some statistics. So according to UNESCO is the nodal agency for implementation of SDG 16.10.2. So there is a SDG target 16.2, and there is an indicator 16.10.2, which deals with the access to information, number of countries which enacted these laws around the world. So UNESCO now every year they are compiling a report as far as the with regard to implementation of right to information laws across these 118 countries. According to them, they are able to get data from 118 countries. So last year report, most recent report pertains to 2024. It reveals that around 66 lakh applications have been received all over the world. So as far as the data they received shows that around 66 lakh applications have been received around the world by from various citizens across various countries. So when we come to India, so as far as India is concerned, last year's Central Information Commission report reveals around 18 to 19 lakh applications filed before central government authorities. But most of the applications are routinely filed before state public authorities. So, for example, we have some reports from state information commissions. Most of the states do not publish reports, unfortunately. For example, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, they didn't publish annual reports for the last 10 years. So we don't know how many applications are being filed by. There is a key report which gives you the data with regard to number of applications. It shows how far citizens are able to access this act and file number of applications. So we have reports from Maharashtra. Maharashtra's last year report indicates that there are more than 7 lakh applications. So Maharashtra receives highest number of applications as far as RTA is concerned. And next question is who are actually filing number of applications. So these countries are these laws are enforced in around 130 countries. For example, Sweden enacted this law in 1766, more than 256 years ago, and Sweden started first generation, we can say. After 200 years, in 1966, America, USA enacted this law, and USA, we can say, started second generation of transparency laws. And third generation laws are mostly from European countries like Ireland and so on. And fourth generation, India and England, both countries started. Surprisingly, England also waited till 2005 to enforce this law. They passed this law in 2000, but they waited for 4 more years, and they started implementing the law the same year in which we implemented. So now we are in the 5th generation where Sri Lanka, Australia recently joined this bandwagon. So every year, every month, this number is rising. Recently, Qatar and some African countries joined. So according to one report, it is more than 130. But in mostly America, it is said that commercial interest, business persons file number of application. But in Britain, mostly journalists file number of application. We can read many stories where journalists regularly file applications. Many number of applications are being filed by journalists there. But in India, that is not the case. In India, we see some strange scenario where number of applications come from different groups. For example, one group is student. We can understand that Supreme Court pronounced a landmark judgment where Supreme Court held that every student has a right to inspect their answer scripts once results are declared after evaluation. So after that, we saw many number of applications from students, but next group is an interesting group. It consists of employees. So employees file majority of applications in India. This may be surprising to many, but in some state commissions, I have seen around 25 applications being filed by employees, not common people, not journalists, not advocates, not politicians. And I can give some examples. For example, there is a department, Indian Air Force. We know it's a sensitive, it handles mostly sensitive information, but they receive more than 5,000 applications per year. And in that 5,000, more than 2,500 are being filed by their own employees, not outsiders. So they receive more than 50% of applications from their own officials, their own offices. We should appreciate Indian Air Force. They respond to the most of the applications. Very few applications are rejected. So they created a culture of transparency where they encourage applications being filed by their own employees. That is an interesting case study. And I would like to give another example. I don't want to name the department. That is a Government of India department, which receives more than 80% of applications from their own employees, more than 80%. So this is what we come across in India. Employees file number of applications and major applications, higher number of applications are being filed by employees. That is unique to India. And in the ancient days, commissions used to reject that applications. Now they are regularly, the position is set in, they are accepting the applications. So I can give many examples where employees used right information. So I would like to give an example in the latter part of this presentation. And this is the, I think, pictogram which shows which countries have enacted these laws. So there's a list of countries which enacted these laws. It is more than 130. So this is an interesting case study. Her name is Heather Brook. She is a British journalist. She is an American, but she migrated to Britain and she is a journalist there. So she created a history when she filed an application and it resulted in devastating application seeking members of parliament. So British members of parliament, second home allowances. So this is a small thing, very minor expenditure they incur, but British government pays them some certain allowance. If they don't own a house in London, they can claim that. So she filed an application seeking disclosure of these expenditure, and the British Parliament, in fact, House of Commons Speaker didn't want to disclose it. He rejected it. And she appealed against this. So they have another organization, another hierarchy. After Information Commission, you can approach Information Tribunal. Now it is called the First Try Tribunal. And after that, you can go to High Court. So she approached even High Court, and High Court wanted to, actually, Tribunal said that this should be disclosed. Meanwhile, there is a daily, there is a newspaper called Daily Telegraph. It somehow got this data leaked, and they published a cover story in which it was revealed that many of the MPs actually spend this money towards some entertainment and watching movies. Small amount, but they spend from for other purposes, which was not allowed under rules. When it was revealed under this issue, so people resisted and people protested. Many people protested. So most of the MPs couldn't contest elections. They were denied tickets in the next election. So according to one estimate, 50% of members of parliament were denied tickets. So, and coming back to India, so I would like to give an example of Indian Express journalist. Now, earlier he was with Indian Today. Now I think he's with Indian Express. In fact, Shamlal Yadav is a very popular journalist who frequently uses right information, and he published front page stories using right information. During Dr. Manmohan Singh tenure, he filed an application seeking expenditure details of all the ministers' foreign tour expenditure. So he was, of course, he was denied, and he filed an appeal, and he could get access that information. So using that information, he published a cover story which revealed that most of the ministers spend huge amounts of money, public money, on foreign trips. So he, I think, published many stories. So this is one interesting example where the journalists file applications and create some front page stories. And so there is an interesting example I would like to give. So RTA is not limited to tour expenditure or ration cards or driving license. It goes beyond. For example, he's a journalist, science journalist, Nicholas Wade. So he published some articles in Washington Post based on information he accessed and the right information. So this is a link. I would like to share the presentation after this session, so you can access that information. So Nicholas Wade accessed that information. In fact, many applications have been filed by other organizations also. So other NGOs which filed a number of applications. So which revealed that coronavirus initially found out in Wuhan city. So Chinese government routinely says there was a marketplace. There is a marketplace, and it was the birthplace of this virus. But many argue that there is a virology lab just 2 kilometers away from this marketplace. And Nicholas Wade found out that they conducted some experiment called gain of function experiments. So on the coronavirus, in fact, they created a process under which they created some hybrid viruses, and they conducted this experiment called gain of function experiments. So Nicholas Wade could argue that based on the information obtained, China doesn't have right information. So how could he access this information? In fact, many people are not aware of the fact that American federal agencies provided funding to the Wuhan Virology Lab to conduct this experiment. They were actually interested in these experiments. We don't know why, but they were interested. So Wuhan Virology Lab conducted these experiments on their behalf with their funding. So because they provided funding, Chinese virology lab had to submit some documentation. So since America has this law in 1966 onwards, it's called Freedom of Information Act. So Nicholas Wade could file an application and could get access to that information. As a result, so recently, White House accepted these arguments, and recently White House created a web page where it revealed many secret documents. Earlier, they were confidential. So if you study these documents, we can see many access to information requests filed by many NGOs within USA, through which initially information was denied, and now information is in the public domain. So anyway, even this information came into light because of these efforts. So this is an interesting example as far as expenditure is concerned. I have quoted some examples where journalists filing number of applications with regard to disclosure of information regarding expenditure incurred during the foreign trips. But America has this law, this website called usaspending.gov. It was a creation of Barack Obama. He was considered to be a champion of transparency. So there is a web portal in which each expenditure, if it exceeds $25,000, it should be proactively uploaded by the federal government. So it should not be, you need not file an application. So it is proactively disclosed. So this is what. And so as far as India is concerned, this is a best practice I would like to quote. So these are what we call Bihar Jankari Center. So it is the only state where you can access information through phone. So this is the center. It is functioning with around 10 executives. So a common person, for example, we have online portals, but online portals can be used by a person, an educated person, a literate person. But what about illiterate farmers, villagers? So Bihar is the only state which created a helpline, phone line, through which you can file an application. For example, when we make a call to this number, so the call charges around 12 rupees. So 10 rupees is deducted towards application fee. So even an illiterate person can file this application through phone. So just, yeah. So I will just take you to another presentation. Yeah. So yeah, this is the website, web page created by Trump administration, which gives you that kind of details, right? Okay. we will move on. Yeah. Okay. So there is another area where RTI has a huge impact, that is environment. So its ambit is quite large. So I think we can't forget this chemical industrial disaster happened in Bhopal. So 94 December, poisonous gases leaked from Union Carbide. Now Union Carbide is no more. It has been acquired by Dow Chemicals. The exposure to these gases killed more than 15,000 people. Even now, people are suffering. So after this disaster, surprisingly, many people in Europe and America started protesting. Why? Were they sympathetic towards Indians? No. They were worried about their situation because Union Carbide has factories in all around the world. So they were worried about this kind of exposure. So they protested. As a result, you can see surprisingly, America enacted this law. So this law is called the U.S. Emergency Planning and Citizens' Right to Know Act 1986. So in 94, this disaster happened, and within 1 year, 1.5 years, America had to enact this law. So what is the relationship between right information and this disaster? So in fact, many intellectuals, for example, there is a professor, Sheila Jaisnav, said, Bhopal is a failure of knowledge. So failure of lack of information, failure of secrecy, because Union Carbide factory was using a deadly chemical called MIC compound, which was, I think, prone to explosion if if it came into contact with water drops. At least a water drop could create some kind of explosion. It was so deadly, and it didn't inform this to even employees working within the organization and surrounding people living in the surroundings. So many people erected some temporary shelters and started living because they found out some vacant place there. Simply, that was the reason. They were not associated with this factory. So the gases killed them immediately. So if they had known about this chemical, this compound, the deadly compound, they would have simply moved away. They would have shifted their homes because they were not pakka houses. They would have simply moved away to far off places. So it could have saved their lives. So simple information about that chemical, that compound, if even carbide could reveal that information, would have revealed that information. So they would have saved their lives. So that's why Europeans and Americans demanded this law. This law came into force in 1986 itself. So under which you can access information from even private authorities, private factories. Surprisingly, India took 20 after 86 in 2005. That means around 19 years we took to enact a basic law. Even this basic law doesn't cover private factories. We can't demand from information from private authorities. All we can do is we can file an application before a public authority which is having some control over these private authorities. For example, Pollution Control Board. So we can file an application and they are supposed to access that information. But in how many cases they access that information, we are not sure. So that is an indirect way of covering private factories. But these laws, Europe, I think we have European environmental regulations. They cover this environment right to information. So we need to insist on this. We need to campaign on this. We need to have a separate law for accessing right to information. But because present right to information act doesn't cover private bodies, and we can't access information from private factories which are doing these kind of experiments within the neighborhoods. So in fact, right to information here works as a right to life under Article 20. So Union Carbide is still, that means Dow Chemicals is now still withholding the identity of released reaction products. In fact, we assume that it is MIC, but it is not officially disclosed by Union Carbide. In fact, the then Soviet Union was there when this accident occurred, issued a statement that Union Carbide was in fact conducting an experiment on exposure, but we are not sure about it anyway. No official information so far from Union Carbide about the ingredients of this act. Anyway, in 1987, we amended Factories Act so to include certain provisions under which a factory using hazardous chemicals processes is supposed to disclose information, but nobody is aware of this provision. Common people are not aware, so leave alone workers. But anyway, that amendment was carried out. Right. So now we'll move on to students. How students are using Right to Information Act. So this is an important judgment. CBSE versus Aditya Bandyopadhyay, where Supreme Court said this was delivered in 2011. So where Supreme Court said it's a landmark judgment that every student has a right to inspect her evaluated answer scripts if they have any doubt. So now many number of students are filing applications. But mostly academic examinations is not a big stake, but many of the students are filing applications before public service commissions with regard to disclosure of answer scripts. But unfortunately, public service commissions are not so proactive. Even after judgment, they are not routinely disclosing. So students are struggling. So they are supposed to fight before information commission and before court to access these kind of information. Not only their personal answer scripts, students are also trying to access topper answer script. For example, we wrote an exam and we couldn't get a rank, but somebody got a first rank. So I would like to know whether that student really actually wrote that examination at that level, whether evaluation was done properly, whether there was a corruption, whether there is a manipulation. So I would like to know. So for that, I need to access the answer script written by the topper answer script. So students are filing application seeking an inspection of topper's answer script, but very few public service commissions are coming forward to disclose such kind of information. And okay, we can move on. And so recently, there is an interesting judgment delivered by Bombay High Court, where high courts conduct their own recruitment test away from public service commission. But when some candidates filed application RTA request seeking marks obtained by all the candidates in the written test and interviews, so generally high courts deny this information. But Bombay High Court PAO denied this information. But when writ petition has been filed, Bombay High Court held that no, that information should be disclosed. They gave a wonderful judgment. They said, see, if you disclose, that allows that clears doubts with regard to evaluation process. It said, sunlight is the best disinfectant. So this is a very popular quotation by US Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis. He in fact said, publicity is justly commended as a remedy for social and industrial diseases. Sunlight is said to be the best disinfectant, and electric light is the most efficient policeman. So Bombay High Court held this. So recently, Telangana High Court conducted a test and they issued an application, similar application with regard to disclosure of marks obtained by successful candidates. So they called me and they said, CC, are we supposed to disclose? I simply sent them this Bombay High Court order, said, see, this is the order. But they said, no, why should we follow Bombay High Court order? Because as you know, high courts are, they have their own jurisdiction. We are not supposed to follow Bombay High Court. Surprisingly, interestingly, recently this was appealed before the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court gave a one-line judgment, said they upheld this judgment. So then I just shared that Supreme Court order, and now after Supreme Court's confirmation upholding this judgment, now they are considering disclosure of information. So that is with regard to High Court written test examinations. So another major area is civil service examination. Many people know that it is the toughest civil exam in India. So most of the civil services aspirants filed number of applications before UPSC with regard to marks obtained by successful candidates and many documents with regard to scaling methodology, which was very too confidential before 2005. So this is, I think, a petition before the Supreme Court, and so now after this judgment, after this case, now UPSC routinely discloses, even they publish marks obtained by all the successful candidates. Well, before 2005, this was top secret. Many people wrote examination before 2005, but they were not aware of the marks to be scored by the top ranker. Even I was not aware when I wrote examination. I used to think that we should score 90% of marks. So many poor students wouldn't attempt at all because 90% is a big task. So poor students, marginalized communities, they never attempted because many of my classmates never attempted because they thought it was not achievable. But now we know 90% is not at all possible. If you get 55, more than 55, 60%, you will get first rank, top 10. You will be in top 100. You will get IAS. Even this small information was not available to students who were actually attempting civil service examinations. Now, so there are many documents as far as civil service examination are concerned, which were revealed as a result of right information. And in fact, Supreme Court, before the Supreme Court, UPSC said, gave a statement that we completely changed the pattern of this examination and we made many reforms. On the basis of this statement, Supreme Court closed this case, but UPSC partially reformed, not completely reformed. So they now introduced common papers in prelims examination, but they are continuing with the options in mains examinations. Unfortunately, this case was closed with that statement. And now I would like to touch another complex area, that is nation security. So people assume that national security is very sensitive. So even if you file applications before public authorities with regard to national security related information, they routinely reject. But I would like to start this discussion with an interesting success story. There's an interesting book written by Admiral Sushil Kumar. He was the Navy chief when Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji was prime minister. So after his retirement, CBI lodged an FIR against him. So there was a serious allegation against Sushil Kumar. So this case goes like this. So when he was Navy chief, Navy purchased some anti-missile defense mechanism from Israel. It was called Barak. So CBI filed an FIR against Sushil Kumar, alleging that Sushil Kumar approved that purchase in spite of equivalent soft AMD mechanism, anti-missile defense mechanism, which was made by DRD. It was called Trishul. So this was an allegation. So he went into depression because he already retired and he was facing media glare and FIR, serious charge has been filed. So he met a journalist friend and he wrote a chapter in this book. I would like to recommend this book for everyone. So he met a journalist, defense journalist. So he got an advice, wonderful advice from the journalist. Advice was like this. So, sir, don't worry about all this. File an RT application and get that information and try to substantiate your standing. So he immediately filed an application and he was routinely denied that information. Navy denied that information. And he approached Information Commission against this denial. And the then CAC was very dynamic. His name is Mr. Wajat Abibullah, very dynamic CAC. He issued notices to Navy and DRDO also. So DRDO appeared before CIC and they submitted an affidavit stating that Trishul was not ready to be deployed on warships at that point of time. It was at lab stage. Lab stage means it was under experimentation. So it was not ready to be deployed. So only option at that time was Barak from Israel. So when this statement was, when affidavit was filed, CIC provided a copy, that copy to CBI and Admiral Sushil Kumar. So with that embarrassed, CBI had to withdraw that FIR and that FIR has been quashed. So Sushil Kumar writes, my entire career, I served this country without any self-interest. But at the end of my career, I had to face this, what we call this bad remark. And RTI, right information, saved my face and saved my image. I'm able to raise my head because of right information. That was a statement given by Admiral Sushil Kumar. So this is an interesting case where it shows how employees use, he is not a simple employee, he's a Navy chief, but how even top-level bureaucrats, top-level army, navy chiefs used right information to redress their grievances. I can give many number of examples where top-level bureaucrats used right information to redress their grievances. And people often think nation security and right information are both conflicting interests. Yes, it is true, but secrecy doesn't guarantee nation security. Secrecy can actually impact badly nation security also. So this is an example. Of course, this is a case, Yashwant Sinha. He filed a public interest litigation he filed a party application seeking very simple information. Yashwant Sinha is not an outsider. He was a minister, finance minister under Vajpayee's tenure, but now he files RT applications. See, so how unique Indian RTA usage is. Yashwant Sinha, cabinet minister, he now files an RT application. So he wants this simple information. There are many, Manohar Lal Sharma also filed this. So they wanted this information. Information is very simple. The price of each Rafale jet. So we purchased Rafale jets from France, but we paid from some price, some amount. So he wanted that information. So this case landed in Supreme Court. Even Supreme Court was not able to decide. So because government said if you reveal that information, it may badly impact, it may affect nation security. So that was the argument. So even Supreme Court couldn't decide. So they requested government to submit that information in a sealed cover before the Supreme Court. The government complied silently, and the Supreme Court closed the case. So this is an example which shows how difficult it is difficult to decide cases involving national security. But there is a question. Really, secrecy guarantees right information. Nation security. Yes, nation security requires some sort of confidentiality. When you are going to start an operation, for example, we started Operation Sindhu. It was highly confidential. Even nobody was expecting on that day because we wanted that kind of confidentiality. It is required. But after operation, you need some transparency. If that is not the case, nation security may be compromised. So for this, I would like to give this example. For example, yes. So this is the example. This happened, very popular photograph. Many newspapers carried this photograph in 2021. So before 2021, Afghanistan was a sovereign country. In fact, they drafted a constitution. Constitution was so strong, you can't imagine its strength. It was stronger than India. I'm using the word was because now the constitution is no more. It has been dumped by Taliban. Okay, the constitution, Article 51 guaranteed right information. Even Indian constitution doesn't explicitly guarantee. So they wrote that kind of constitution, and in fact, they drafted a wonderful right information law. It got top 1 rank. So we got 8th rank, but Afghanistan got 1st rank. So they wanted to implement that kind of right information law. So anyway, on one fine day, Taliban attacked, and the strength of the army. Afghanistan had an army of around 3 lakh army personnel. And when Taliban attacked, so how long they could fight? Not more than 1 day. In fact, many ran away within hours. So people got surprised. Even there is no time to surprise because now you are under what we call tyranny. You lost your freedom. People lost their freedom, and you can't enjoy your freedoms anymore. But Washington Post was worried. Why Washington Post got worried? Because Washington Post, in fact, filed an RT application seeking certain information from American defense authorities. So what was Washington Post concerned? Because citizens from Afghanistan should worry, but Washington Post was concerned because USA spent $1 trillion on this army. They spent more than $1 trillion to support Afghanistan army. So they were puzzled. What happened to this army? They couldn't even fight more than 1 day, if not half day, if not 1 week. they couldn't even fight one day. So they filed many applications. Washington Post is a big activist as far as transparency is concerned. I think many people know about it. So they filed an RT application, and that information was denied because nation security again. So it went to courts. In America, we don't have information commissions. Their district courts enjoy this jurisdiction. So they went to courts, and they could access that information. So they published this story, Unguarded Nation. So what is the story? Its story goes like this. So in fact, Afghanistan claimed an army of 352,000, but in fact on field, there were not about 254,000. They inflated figures to get funding from American agencies. That is one thing. Even these 254,000 soldiers were not professionals. So they just showed they included their names, unprofessionals, even street hackers or home guards were shown as professional soldiers. So what street hackers can do when you're attacked? They simply run away. So everybody ran away, and people lost their entire freedom just because of this secrecy. So what I'm trying to say, bottom line is this: secrecy doesn't guarantee nation security. You need to have a balance of secrecy and transparency, even as far as national security is concerned. For example, Operation Sindoor, we should appreciate. So our defense forces, they carried this operation. But now, even now, we have some sort of secrecy with regard to loss of our aeroplanes or war jets. So I don't want to go into the details, but foreign media claims that India lost some aircraft, war jets. But our chief of defense staff, when he was in other country, he issues a statement that we indeed lost some aircraft. So there is no transparency as far as this is concerned. So if that is the case, the trust between government and people may be impacted. So you need to be some accountability, because people are paying, and national security is paramount for every citizen. So there should be some level of transparency even with regard to national security. So that's what I'm trying to say. Then, yeah. So just, yeah. So one more topic I would like to cover for 5 to 10 minutes, and then we will open up. So please inform me if I'm exceeding my time so that I can conclude there. Okay. So now I would like to show some best practices as far as RTA is concerned. So, so on screen, I think, so these are wonderful, I think, example how media can actually propagate right information. So I hope you can recognize both of us. So Sri Mulepalli Lakshmayaji was there. So this is a live telephone program. So live phone-in program. We did this in 2010. So every week we used to sit in studio, HMTV studio. It was a live program, not a recorded one. We used to invite questions from citizens, and we used to respond instantly. So this weekly program we carried, I think, forward for 2 years. One of the most successful live TV programs at that point of time, where we used to respond viewers' questions online. And I don't remember any other examples where media, I think, came forward to propagate the message of right information. This created a lot of awareness at that time. And there are some other best practices also. For example, Punjab Information Commission now is running an online certificate course on right information. So it's a proactive measure taken by Information Commission. Recently, Gujarat Information Commission made a recommendation that for first 5 pages, you should not charge, because 1 or 2 pages public authorities charge. For each page, they charge 2 rupees. But for that, they write a letter, and it will take 1 month. And after you receive the letter, you have to send that 2 rupees for 1 page. For getting that 2 rupees fee, public authority spends more than 100 rupees. That is an running that most of the PAs spend more than 100 rupees to charge 2 rupees per 1 page. So So Gujarat Information Commission came forward and they made a recommendation that none of the first 5 pages need not be charged. So this is I think good practice should be adopted by other states also. So coming to state, our state, so this is a good achievement, I can say. Fourth class science social textbook provides you a lesson. So as early as fourth class students are taught right information. So Andhra and Telangana, Telugu states can be a proud achievement. So they introduced a lesson as early as fourth class. Now this lesson is in 8th class, and 10th class also, I think, carries a lesson. So as far as government is concerned, we should appreciate many efforts made by Government of India. This is one great best practice where you can use the online portal and you can find RT applications without pen and paper. And even 10 rupees application fee can be paid by online. Supreme Court of India recently directed, in Kishan Jain case, directed all the states and all the high courts to create such online portal so that citizens can file RT applications online. So this is a great mechanism. Even I file number of applications through this. It takes not more than 5 minutes to file an application. And you may not go to post office because writing an application is one thing and posting it is a different thing. You have to visit a post office. So you have to spend half day. That is not required here. You can simply file an online applications. So Supreme Court of India, first it introduced this online and next directed all the high courts, every high court in India, as per directions of Supreme Court, now created this online mechanism. And so this is Telangana High Court, for example, and this is a state Central Information Commission. It accepts online appeals also. So on this portal, you can file just applications and first appeals only. But what about second appeals? So second appeals, you have to file that second appeal through CAC online mechanism. This is CAC. And CAC, we should appreciate, even before COVID, they started video conferencing. So you can just visit NIC studio in your district and you can appear before Central Information Commission. So you're not required to travel to Delhi. So that saves a lot of money for time for common people as well as public information officers also. For public information officers, government pays, but for common people, nobody pays. So now Supreme Court directed all the state information commissions to provide hybrid hearings. For example, you will get a choice. You can directly visit Information Commission for the hearing. You can personally appear, or you can appear through online video conference. So that option should be given. And I would like to appreciate Maharashtra Information Commission, most proactive, according to me, when you compare all the states. Across states, Maharashtra doesn't sit in Mumbai alone. So Maharashtra Information Commission created 8 benches. There is a bench in Amaravati. There is a bench in Pune. So they have created 8 benches. So one information commission sits in one bench, and so within their jurisdiction, they dispose of appeals. So this is one of the, I think, proactive measures as far as RTA is concerned, information commissions are concerned. So this is the Jankari. Just I would like to show the center. So this is the Jankari Center functioning in Bihar, where you can file applications. So in fact, I would like to say a few words about this slide. So I hope you can recognize this activist. RTA created a new generation of activists like Aruna Rai ji, Anna Hazare ji. In fact, Arun Kejriwal was a creation, the creator of Right Information Act. So he was an IRS officer, but due to his activism with regard to RTA, he got fame and he got Raman Magsaysay Award. And later, he entered into politics. The rest is history. But what I want to say is RTA created a new generation of activists in India. You may be any activist, for example, human rights activist, environmental activist, public health activist, child rights activist. But an activist becomes an informed activist when they use right information. So informed activism is stronger than activism. So RTI gives you that kind of tool where you can carry forward your informed activism. So this is the website, and this is the number 15513 as far as Bihar call center is concerned. So this is Maharashtra. So I can skip these slides because it won't take much time. And, oh, so Mexico is another success story where you can file applications through Informex portal without revealing your address. Because in India, we have this problem. We are supposed to write down our name and address. So many people are scared to write their addresses because you can be attacked. In fact, government accepted in parliament that many number of party activists have been killed because of their activism. So many deaths we saw. Even recently, we came across news reports where activists have been attacked and killed. So that is a threat perception as far as activism is concerned, because there are stakes, higher stakes, you may be attacked. So how do you then file an RTA application? So Mexico created this portal called Informex, where you need not reveal your name and address. You can be anonymous. So like bank locker, they will provide you an information locker. So the information will be lodged in that locker, and we can access that information. So this is a great practice as far as protecting RTI accuracy is concerned. And so tax records, another area. So we did this experiment of demonetization in 2016 to contain black money, to contain tax evasion. So I'm not going into the facts of the practice because we don't know whether it is succeeded or failed. So we are not going into that. But there is another practice which actually does the same thing. If you want to save, if you want to contain tax evasion, if you want to contain black money, three countries does something else. Instead of demonetization, they do something else. What is this? They place all the data, all the income tax returns data on public domain. So if you are living in Norway, if you are a citizen of Finland, you can access your neighbor's income tax returns online without going to any office. So simply you can file an application and you can access that information through online. So what is the point? The point is if the tax data is in public domain, if for example, your neighbor is having 4 cars, but they are paying just 500 rupees tax. What does it mean? It means that they are evading tax. So then it is one kind of social audit. Then you can file a complaint so that government catches hold of that person and retrieves that amount. So collects that amount. So in that way, you are contributing to your economy. So this is what Finland and Sweden and Norway do. So they place entire data with regard to taxpayers' money on public domain so that black money can be controlled. So whether India can do that kind of experimentation, because we did that first experiment, demonetization, but I advise this step if you really want to contain black money, if you really want to contain tax evasion. So this is an interesting example. Just I would like to show. We underestimate Pakistan, but Pakistani civil society is quite strong. So Umar Chima is a famous journalist. He fought for this data. So he filed any applications. He demanded that a disclosure of income tax returns filed by politicians. So he demanded disclosure of income data as far as politicians are concerned. So in fact, he was beaten on the road by these politicians because of his activism, but he persisted. But at one point of time, was quite interesting. At one point of time, when Imran Khan was the prime minister, government agreed to upload the data. For a few years, the data was online. Even I could access a single PDF document. I could download. I couldn't save it, but unfortunately, thinking it was a routine document. So a single PDF document used to give entire data of entire population of Pakistan. One single document containing hundreds of pages. I could access taxpayer's name, their PAN number, they have another number, PAN number, income claimed by them, tax paid by them. Everything was online. But unfortunately, I think after some time it went back. Now Pakistan is not in this line. They are not disclosing. So as I mentioned, Nepal includes political parties. So this is one other area is private sectors. So okay, government authorities have some transparency, there is some accountability, but what about private sector? Private hospitals, for example, big corporate hospitals, private schools, corporate colleges. So these are not covered by Right Information Act. So what should we do? What should we do? For example, I want to know whether a teacher in a private corporate school is getting proper salary or not. I want to know fees chargeable by a corporate hospital. For example, there is a hospital built on subsidized land. Government provided huge uh, land parcels at very subsidized rates, but they don't uh, provide any subsidies. They don't provide any discounts with regard to their fees. So I want to know what is the rational about that. So I can't get the information because they don't entertain any applications under RTA because they are not covered. So there is a big area of concern. For example, South Africa enacted a law. Nelson Mandela was behind this. In fact, Nelson Mandela used to read. He spent 27 years, more than 27 years in prison, you know very well. So he used to read one document every day, not Bible, not Bhagavad Gita, not Quran. It was UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. He used to read that statement every day, that book every day. And he think that if one day, if luckily I get out, if I got released, if I get released, I will ensure that my constitution guarantees all these rights, all these Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Not a single right can be skipped. So luckily, you know very well, he was released. Nobody, I think, predicted that. Even Nelson Mandela did predict that. He was released and actually God drafted a constitution for South Africa, and in that he ensured that every right under UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, is written explicitly, and the right information is an explicit right. South African Constitution in writing guarantees right information. So not just right information, it guarantees right information held by even private bodies. So that is the only country, only constitution in the whole world which guarantees right information from even private bodies if they involve your rights, if they affect your rights. So that is the most progressive constitution, the most progressive RTA legislation. And even British RTA has some sort of this provision. Section 5 says if the public authorities or if a private body which does public functions, it can be brought under the ambit of right information. For example, water, drinking water provision is a public function, but we know Parle, Bisleri, all these companies, Coke, and what is PepsiCo, all these companies provide drinking water, but they sell drinking water, but that is a function of public authority. So under this law, a private body, for example, PepsiCo, doing the public function, that is providing drinking water. So even that body can be brought under this ambit of right information. So they have that provision, but unfortunately in India, we don't have that provision. So, yeah. So just, I will take you to some other small presentation, then I will conclude. Which presentation? Yeah. So,
Hello.
yeah.
I think.
So shall I stop, sir? Because if I don't know.
Okay, sir. You can stop.
No. So
Sukhdev please proceed.
Yeah. So because it may take longer than expected, so I will conclude here so that I can take some questions.
I think it's one of the best lecture in this series, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think we got this lecture is a very high knowledge and covered a lot. I think Sukhdevji will proceed further. Hello. Okay. Anybody wants ask questions? Please carry on.
Yeah,
No
please.
question, but wanted to tender my thanks to Madhav sir. Though I was very much part of all this movement and campaign, so all these RTI proceedings and everything I'm aware. But the history you have given complete internationally and Asia, that is really very much appreciating point of thing. And the examples what you have given, that I was surprised that even now Group Captain Dinesh Chandra is here. He is also from Air Force, and you have revealed that most of the RTI applications came from the Air Force. So I'm really thankful to you. I'm really enriched, and I do request you as well to Anna to you may join one more for the one more time for the lecture and enrich us. Thank you very much.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much.
Arun Kote from Lucknow is a senior most journalist and activist.
Oh, great, sir.
He runs two websites and he did well on Dalit atrocities. He had so much data from years together.
Oh, great, sir. So, great.
Mm.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Arun. Anybody is
Thank
there?
you.
कोई है क्या?
So I would like to share my recent article, Lakshmi Garu, Statesman article. Please share that article.
Okay, I will send to them.
Surprisingly, today's Island paper, Sri Lankan newspaper, reprinted that article. So, I will share that also.
Great.
Island is the popular newspaper in Sri Lanka. So they reprinted that article. And so I will share that article also.
Okay,
That
good.
provides some perspective as far as RTA experience is concerned. Because I couldn't cover many things.
Good.
In fact, I couldn't cover that DPDP Act impact on RTA. So let us cover some other.
Anyway, we are going to publish articles. In that, you can include all those issues you didn't mention here.
Yeah, so that article will provide you that perspective as far as the DPDP Act amendment. So
not only that, we are going to publish all lectures in book level, book forms.
Oh, great.
That's why in that writing, you can mention whichever you missed here. It's better to include there.
Yes.
Sir, if there is no questions, we can conclude. Okay, sir. Thank you very much. I think it's a detailed and elaborative lecture. Thank you very much on behalf of Center for Dalit Studies, Indian Institute of Dalit and others, Center for Dalit Rights, other organizations all over India. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for this opportunity. It's a great honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.